We're going to keep helping you as you struggle to liberate your country from the war criminal Putin. Whether you believe we should be helping Ukraine or not, I do. People in this body on both sides of the aisle in the Senate understand that Putin's invasion is a defining moment of the 21st century. That if he gets away with this, there goes Taiwan, and the world will begin.
In advance child tax credit payments to families. Those are paper checks or direct deposits that appeared each month. And the payments were equal to 50% of the child tax credit estimated to be families and available to the families. Based on information reported on their federal income tax return, eligible families who did not receive the advance payments or didn't receive enough can claim the full credit on their 2021 tax return during the tax filing season. Mailing the payments in monthly installments wasn't the only change, and the credit was also bigger and fully refundable to qualifying taxpayers, and it means that you could receive the advanced child tax credit payment even if you did not owe any taxes. It has reached more than 61 million children, and studies suggest that it made a tremendous impact. A 2022 paper from the American Medical Association noted that children in the United States are more likely to live in poverty than any other age group. Before the crisis, over 10 million children in the United States lived in poverty. One of the highest child poverty rates among high-income countries. About half of all children living in poverty are living in what's called extreme poverty, defined as a household with an annual income of $13,000 or less. Now, the move was met with enthusiasm to expand a bill that would help them out. There does appear to be bipartisan support for making changes to the child tax credit, and various proposals have been floated by the GOP senators. But so far, House Republican leaders are hoping to pass a rule to set up floor votes on a bill to control Mitch McConnell for opposing the new changes on President Biden's economic agenda. Top Democrats in the Senate are now revising a new version of the Build Back Better legislation. The lawmakers would like to see a monthly benefit boost included to the bill. Top Democrats in the Senate are now revising a new version of the Build Back Better legislation. The lawmakers would like to see a monthly benefit boost included to the bill. And today, Joe Manchin said on top that he's not dissuaded by warnings from the top Senate Republican leader to sink a bipartisan bill that would only strengthen the U.S. economic competitiveness. Manchin told reporters, "I'm not walking away if I can help the country, and if they want to play politics and play party politics, shame on them." Manchin added it was so wrong of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky to issue warnings to sink the bipartisan legislation, which has also announced that the IRS wants to remind everybody that's potentially eligible for this payment that they may qualify for these valuable tax credits even if they are not required to file a tax return. They may still qualify for several important credits. We don't want to overlook these tax credits, and the letters will remind people of their potential eligibility. Until people claim these benefits without charge, the Free File tool is going to remain open for an extra month this year. Until November 17th, that is. The tool enables people whose incomes are $73,000 or less to file a return online for free. Individuals whose incomes are below $12,000 and couples whose incomes are below $25,000 may be able to file a tax return to claim the recovery rebate credit, which covers any stimulus payment amounts from 2021 that they may have missed and the child tax credit as well. In an effort to help families fight inflation, the New York governor has also announced last month that people in New York will receive an average payment of $270 through the state tax credit program. As part of the 2022-2023 New York State budget, New York taxpayers could receive a check for two different payments under the Empire State Child Credit and the Earned Income Credit. And while the payments will come out as relief for many, most of the state's nearly 20 million residents are eligible. Around 1.75 million low-income New Yorkers and families are eligible for payments. This program will actually put money back into the pockets of nearly 2 million New York families struggling to make ends meet in the face of the crisis. And also, beginning this fall, around 3 million people in Georgia can expect a check of 3 taxpayers filed returns electronically last year. Roughly 17 million people sent the paper filings. The agency is processing more returns compared to a year ago, and it continues to make substantial progress on the backlog. But the agency in March shared plans to hire 10,000 workers, starting with 5,000 new employees. Now, new changes will be made, everybody, to President Biden's economic agenda. Lawmakers are finally addressing the rising inflation rates. Democrats are trying to find a new way to send out more financial aid to Americans, and recurring stimulus checks may be passed. Nancy Pelosi said today that Democratic leaders will gauge the price. Let's get straight into news. Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer are refusing to negotiate with Kevin. That's Kevin McCarthy on raising the nation's debt ceiling. They don't want to raise anything, but the voices across the political spectrum argue that the president and precedent for such talks has been sent already. The former president negotiated with the House Republican majority in 2011 to extend the nation's borrowing authority. That's right, extend the nation's borrowing authority. Nobody knows what that even means. And Obama agreed to negotiate big spending cuts with Republicans, everybody, before the 2012 election because he knew he was ultimately responsible for the health of the economy. It would have taken a major hit if the Fed had defaulted on its debt obligations in 2011. Experts now say that Biden is now in a similar position as he readies his own re-election bid. He won't even be able to resist negotiations. The former Senate Budget Committee chairman has also told reporters failure to deal with his debt limit would be catastrophic to the economy, terrible to the economy, terrible to the world. Any serious person who has studied this knows that the economic consequences would be just disastrous. Conrad said he understands why Democrats refuse to negotiate with Republicans on raising debt limit during Obama's time, but he expects Joe Biden to do something and not act like Obama. So, here it is. Experts have said that Social Security and Medicare are headed for insolvency. And let's be honest, guys, it probably is. Social Security will probably end in a couple years because experts have said that both Social Security is headed for insolvency. So there is an opportunity to do something about this, though. There's an opportunity to fix the problems that everybody's being bothered about. Now, let's get into the most important news first. Biden so far is not negotiating any tremendous pressure from his party to either enter negotiations with the exception of Joe Manchin. Manchin, who is calling up for re-election, floated the idea of reconsidering reforms to prolong the solvency of federal programs like Medicare, Social Security, for Republicans to support and for raising debt ceiling. He stated he would put bipartisan, bicameral committees together to look at each of one of the trusts and come up with solutions for how you fix it. Republican aides said refusing to negotiate with Republicans isn't something sustainable, isn't even something doable because if you don't negotiate with both parties, you're pretty much acting stupid. Now, a senior Republican aide said that doing this would be a problem. Joe Manchin and Democrats' December's employment and inflation numbers were pretty good, and while we look at the various metrics for the economy, it doesn't appear that we're headed towards a recession. Not yet, at least. One source of fears that the Fed is playing a dangerous game of raising the rates to lower inflation. It runs the risk of a recession. However, the most recent numbers indicate that the Fed may be able to pull a soft landing. Soft, easy landing to fix the problems, that is. Unemployment numbers were already down during this time. December, they fell to an even lower number. In the economy as a whole, well, fell again. Hourly job wages growth in December fell from 5 to 4%, and it's not spectacular news for workers, but it's something better than nothing. It shows that at least Joe Biden is trying to do something for the people. Now, besides that, I also want to say that even though Jerome Powell has acknowledged that there is no evidence that wage growth caused or even boosted inflation, probably it did, even though they don't want to admit it. It's just the facts, folks. Now, I also want to say this, folks, that with decrease in wage growth, if it continues, it may encourage the Fed to slow their pace of rate hikes when